Some stories shake the ground beneath your feet, not because they're sensational, but because they seem too impossible to believe. This is one of those stories. A Hollywood legend, revered for his talent and fierce protection of his privacy, was found dead beside his beloved wife in their sacred home in Santa Fe. The scene was chilling, two lifeless bodies in separate rooms, and a third victim, one of their dogs, also dead. On February 26, 2025, the man was Gene Hackman, a two-time Oscar winner. The woman was Betsy Arakawa, a former classical pianist and businesswoman. Together, they had shared over 3 decades of life in silence, away from the glare of the cameras. But what if the most tragic part of the story wasn't the loss, but what happened afterward? What if, in the days following their deaths, an even darker mystery emerged, one that threatened to redefine everything we thought we knew about the couple and their family? Law enforcement rushed to uncover what had happened behind the closed doors of the Hackman home. At first, it seemed like an unexpected tragedy, 2 elderly individuals dying at their home just days apart. But that story quickly crumbled, not only because of the physical evidence found inside the house, but also because of what happened next. A series of court records, emergency motions, and ultimately, a strange and concerning legal move by their only son, Christopher Allen Hackman. Within a week of the discovery, Christopher filed a lawsuit in Santa Fe court to prevent the release of the autopsy reports, death investigation records, and even the photos taken by authorities at the scene. According to legal experts familiar with the case, this move was not only rare, but almost unheard of. Imagine the son of a deceased man and woman not only trying to conceal official records related to their deaths, but actively fighting in court to keep those details hidden from the public. Not only the photos, autopsy reports, investigation notes, toxicology results, and documents, things that in most states and in most cases are made public without question, were withheld. In New Mexico, such efforts require a compelling legal reason. Christopher argued that the couple's privacy and the family's right to grieve should be respected. But others, especially those involved in the investigation, saw something else, an attempt to cover up, a deliberate concealment. What was he trying to hide? And why? The timeline of Betsy Arakawa's death suddenly shifted a few days after investigators had believed she had passed. This is where the story transitions from tragedy to mystery, and from mystery to something even more unsettling. On February 12th, 2 weeks before the bodies were discovered, Arakawa was reported to have called a local medical clinic, speaking with a receptionist. She scheduled an appointment and appeared to still be alive. But according to police logs and initial reports, Arakawa was said to have died on February 11th, 1 day before that phone call. This contradiction brought the case to light. Suddenly, everything changed. How could a dead woman make a phone call? Was the initial death date wrong, or was someone else trying to impersonate her? The local doctor who received the call confirmed the date and time. The phone records verified it. This revelation alone completely changed the story. But that wasn't the only anomaly. Inside the house, authorities found signs suggesting that Hackman and Arakawa had died under very different circumstances, with different causes, in separate rooms on different days. But still no notes, no explanations, no signs, just silent struggle, and now secrecy. Then came the arrest of Christopher Allen Hackman. Long seen as a reclusive and protected figure, he was taken into custody after documents were leaked that conflicted with key points in the family's legal records. While the full nature of the charges remained sealed, early details revealed that investigators were convinced Christopher not only accessed his parents' medical records, but also attempted to block, destroy, or manipulate official documents. Worse still, parts of the autopsy data were leaked, suggesting that one of the deaths may not have been natural at all. This story is not just about death. It's about power, legacy, and the desperate actions people take when they fear the truth might be exposed. You'll hear from medical experts confused by the timeline, legal professionals shocked by the nature of the court records, and investigative journalists following the clues, uncovering something far darker than anticipated. And perhaps the most haunting of all, you'll begin to understand why this case has caused so much unease. Because even now, with an arrest and a trail of paperwork, the answers are still incomplete. The questions only continue to multiply. Why did Christopher fight so fiercely to prevent the release of his parents' autopsy results? Why did he act to seal not just the images, but the full report? What might those documents contain that he didn't want anyone to see? And why were Gene and Betsy found in separate rooms, days apart, in a home that had once been their refuge? As we begin this journey, we are not seeking simple conclusions, we are seeking the truth. And as you will see, the truth in this story may be far more complex than any headline could capture. It was still dark on the morning of February 26, 2025, when the Santa Fe Sheriff's Department received a welfare check request from a concerned neighbor. The neighbor, who owned property across the mountain slope from the Hackman's home, had noticed something odd in the days before. No lights in the house. No movement. No sign of the morning routine that had been predictable for years, especially from Betsy, who would usually walk one of their 3 dogs at sunrise. The absence, in a house that had been a regular presence in the quiet rural neighborhood for decades, raised obvious concerns that wouldn't disappear. A neighbor finally called the non-emergency line. That one decision would trigger a chain of events no one could have foreseen. When the police arrived at the property, nestled deep in the cottonwoods of northern New Mexico, they immediately sensed something was wrong. Packages were left at the door. The mailbox was overflowing. A foul smell wafted from beneath a slightly recessed window near the side entrance. And there was no response when they knocked. No sounds from inside. With no other option, the police broke in. What they found inside was surreal. Gene Hackman, one of the most respected actors of his generation, was discovered dead in his upstairs study. He sat in an old leather chair, his head slightly tilted to one side, as if he had simply fallen asleep and never awoke. A book rested on his lap. At first glance, there were no signs of injury or distress. His expression was calm, peaceful even. The police wondered if he had passed away naturally, perhaps while reading a book, undisturbed and at ease. But something in the air of the house, the silence, the strangeness, the stillness, told them this was not an ordinary case. Betsy Arakawa was found 2 rooms away in the master bedroom under entirely different circumstances. She was lying face down on the floor beside the bed. No blanket covering her. No pillow under her head. Her body was stiff, indicating she had been dead for several days longer than her husband. There were no obvious injuries. No signs of a struggle. But her death didn't appear peaceful, accidental, or natural. And that was when the case shifted from unusual to deeply troubling. This was not a story of old age and peaceful passing. It was a puzzle, with missing pieces, wrong starts, and dead ends. But somewhere beneath the dust and silence lies the answer. And it begins right here. The shocking deaths of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa have left behind more questions than answers. What should have been a peaceful retirement for one of Hollywood's most respected actors and his wife has instead turned into a tangled mystery, one filled with missing records, conflicting timelines, and son now at the center a legal battle. With autopsy results sealed, phone records raising doubts, and a crime scene that only deepened the mystery, the truth remains elusive. Was this a tragic coincidence, or is there something far more sinister beneath the surface? As investigators continue to unravel this case, one thing is clear: the story of Gene Hackman's final days is far from over. What really happened inside that house in Santa Fe? And why is so much being hidden? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think the evidence suggests? If you found this story intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update on fascinating mysteries like this one. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest developments and more stories that challenge what we think we know.